guys, it's your girl from Philly. Welcome to another episode of Handcrafted Wines, where we make great wine from home the fun and easy way. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. In today's episode, we're making Kiwi wine. I'm so excited about this recipe. I have like this schedule of wines that I'm going to be making on my show that I loosely kind of adhere to, but I could not wait to get to Kiwi wine. This is one of my most favorite fruits. It's like a cross between, I don't know, like a strawberry, and it's got kind of like a lemon zesty kind of thing going on. And then it also reminds you of a watermelon. It's so weird. So I guess like honeydew, strawberry, and lemon all together. Now I chopped up what is very close to 3 pounds of kiwi. I was going for 3 pounds, but by the time I removed the skins, it came to about 2.95 pounds. So we're almost there at 3 pounds. I'm also going to be using today the zest of 1 lemon and the juice of a half a lemon. That's going to replace our acid blend today. So today we're not going to be using any acid blend. I'll also be using 2.5 cups of sugar, and I'm fairly certain that we'll be using the whole 2.5 cups in this episode. And then our usual players, which will be our pectic enzyme. This is going to break down the cell walls of our fruit so that our yeast can get to the sugars. Our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. Our tannin to give us that tart back of the mouth feel, or that astringent back of the mouth feel that we really want in our wine. And today we're going to be using Red Star Premier Rouge yeast, which goes to a ABV of, I believe, about 16%, even though I don't know if this particular batch is going to be going that high. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to give our fermenting vessel a quick blitz with Star San sanitizer. I did clean it, but it's been sitting on the shelf for a couple of days. So I just want to make sure that it's completely sanitized. And the very first thing I'm going to do is to dilute our sugars with some hot water to make it easier for it to dissolve. And I'm pretty certain we're going to need the full 2.5 cups. So I'll be adding the full 2.5 cups of sugar to our batch. All right, that's 2.5 cups of sugar right off of the bat. You know what's interesting about sugar? Before I started making wine, I didn't realize this, but when you dissolve sugar, it looks like it's white, but once it's dissolved, sugar is rarely the color that we think it is. Sometimes it dissolves into a pale green, sometimes a pale yellow. Let's see what this one is dissolving into. This is kind of like a pale yellow. And I think it's really based on where they derive the sugar from, what type of vegetable or fruit that they derive it from. Well, it's typically from sugar beets or sugar cane. I don't know anything else that we make sugar out of in North America. Yeah, this has like a pale yellow tinge to it. I don't know if you can catch that on the camera, but it's not clear at all. I've even seen it dissolve with a slight pink tone or a slight orange tone to it. It's even more apparent when you make your wine in a fermentation bucket. You can really see that the liquid is not clear at all. And of course, if I'm using brown sugar or Damara sugar or something like that, then of course it's going to be darker. But actually, white sugar is never really clear once you dissolve it. Okay, that's been completely dissolved. That didn't take long at all. We're going to be adding our straining bag. This is a new bag and I have washed it, but I like to blitz it again. This is going to be a fast batch, but I couldn't wait. Like I had this down at number 14 or 15 and I couldn't wait to get to it. Okay, I'm going to use our short spoon and spoon our fruit in. I know a lot of times you see kiwi combined with strawberry as a flavor, but it actually kind of tastes like strawberries on its own. And we're not going to blitz this fruit. One of the reasons is the fruit is very sweet and tangy, but if you were to break up the seeds in any way, they would make the wine completely bitter. This fruit is so juicy. I was contemplating preparing the fruit on the channel, but I just felt like, chopping up the fruit and everything would probably take more time than necessary when we really just want to see what goes on in the batch. At least I do. If you really want to watch me cutting up fruit, just let me know. I'll make a side video for that. Yep, don't want to spill it. I never make a batch without dropping a piece of fruit. Let's see if I can get away with not dropping any today. And the purpose for not using the acid blending, using the lemon, is just to give the wine a little zing to it. Just a little bit more pop to it. All right, we're more than halfway through. I'm going to try pouring it in and see what happens. Let's see if I can be lucky today. So far, no casualties. Got a lot of juice in the bowl too. We're almost there. Let's see what happens. Ah! The pressure. Look at that. Not one piece of fruit lost. Awesome. I wish this was a whole 3 pounds, but I think it's going to be okay with what we have here. All right, next I'm going to add the lemon zest. And remember, we always want just the zest. We don't want any of the white pith. The white pith would make this batch bitter. And that goes for when you're using grapefruit, lime, lemon, oranges. You just want to make sure you have only the peel, not the pith. This part is the pith. All of this white, we don't want any of this inside of our batch. I think I'm going to sit the lemon kind of sideways so it gets a lot of pressure and put it inside. So all the juice goes inside. Okay, that's good. She usually comes out to be about a tablespoon and a half of lemon juice. I've had some really juicy lemons and it came out to be like 2 tablespoons worth. We don't need a lot to replace our acid blend. I'm gonna squeeze it one more time. Yep, there was a little bit more lemon juice left in there. Okay. And this is such an easy batch. We're really almost done. Now we're going to add some lukewarm water to the batch. It looks so pretty inside there. So we can bring it to a temperature that will be comfortable for our yeast. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it. Yeast ferments best between 70, I think it's 70, and I want to say it goes as high as 93 degrees, close to body temperature. Yeah, see, this is room temperature now. And what's so funny is the water hasn't taken on any color. Oh, just as I said it. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. It took on some green color as soon as I moved the fruit around. Look at that. Oh, I hope it keeps this pretty green color. That's really one of the reasons I was so excited about it, is I want a green wine. I was thinking about experimenting with chlorophyll to add some green to a wine, but I'll see. I'll do it in a very, very small batch first just to see if it's viable, if it makes sense. I don't want to waste the product. All right, we got you all harnessed in there. I'm just going to press it in really good before we add our supplements. Ooh, yeah, this is such a pretty, pretty color. And I'm pretty sure we'll get a lot more color as it continues to ferment. But I just hope it stays this bright green. Sometimes during fermentation, um, greens and golds will turn kind of brown. So I'm hoping for pretty green. And make sure this incorporates all the sugar. Right now it's like a very light moss color. It's pretty. And I'm hoping, even though I'm using Premier Rouge, I'm hoping to get a sweet finish with this without having to back sweeten. But if I have to back sweeten, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. All right, so now we're going to add our I forgot what we're adding. We didn't add our acid blend. We're adding our pectic enzyme to break down the cell wall so that our yeast get to all the sugars. We've already added our acid through our lemon juice. And now we're adding our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. And the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient and a half a teaspoon of yeast energizer, which is always why it's so much more yeast nutrient in the batch than yeast energizer. I'm going to dissolve our little bit of tannin with some hot water. Well, it's a half a teaspoonful. Our tricky little stubborn little tannin. I'm going to use this spoon. This really is a fast little bit batch to put together. It didn't take long at all. We're almost done. I would really, really love to get this beautiful green color in my batch. Maybe the lemon might help that. The lemon might help keep it bright. Now, of course, the tannin going in is going to make it dark for a while. Just in the beginning of fermentation, it won't stay that color. We will get some of our original color back. That makes me sad. It's so pretty and green, but I know it's not going to stay this shade. I wonder if I could have made this batch without any tannin at all, but I think it just probably wouldn't have been a very satisfying tasting wine. I just want to get this last bit of tannin off of the spoon. It really doesn't want to come off. Okay, I'm not going to force it. Give everything a quick stir. I mean, you can make wine without tannin in it, but it would fall kind of flat. It would taste like it's missing something. So if you're not going to use powdered tannin, of course use black tea, but you want to have some astringency to your wine. Tannin gives your wine character. Even with a white wine, you want some tannin. Okay, so now we're going to test our specific gravity. Because we use the whole 2.5 cups without even checking, I have a feeling it's going to be a nice level. I'm not sure where, but I think it's going to be okay. You know what I'm looking for that I don't see? Oh, I've got it. Is that airlock? Now there are people who make wine and they don't use an airlock at all. In fact, during primary fermentation, they just cover it with a towel. That's a good idea if you don't have animals. I do have a dog and a cat, so the last thing I want is for, you know, pet dander to get into my batch. So I like to keep it sealed with an airlock, but it's absolutely fine if you choose not to. It would ferment without a problem. Put a little bit back. And then they would put an airlock in the secondary fermentation. And I've seen it done, on many channels I've watched it. So it's not like it's not not like you can't do it, but you absolutely can. I just prefer not to. I think putting an airlock and sealing it up is a lot more sanitary. And some people will just keep it uncovered for the first 24 hours and then cover it and seal it with an airlock. I do it from the very beginning and I've never had a problem with it fermenting properly. Woohoo! Look at that. We're going to be kind of boozy this time. Okay, so we've moved into the gray area. I'm sorry, the blue area. We moved past the red area. We're right at the top of the blue line. So let's see what that means for us. Our reading is 1.1 1.100. So it's just a little bit further than what we usually get when we're shooting for 12 to 13%, 1.100. And my hydrometer says, this is a tricky part, guys. My hydrometer says that with that reading, I think I went full circle and didn't come across the percentage. There we go. There's the percentages. So I'm seeing that's going to be between 13 to 14%. But what I'm going to do is check my calculator just to see. So at let's get back to the reading. 1.100. Let's see what that's going to come out to be. Okay, so the reading, I'm on brewersfriend.com. They have a ABV calculator. So I'm putting in my specific gravity of 1.100, and we're going to assume that the batch is going to ferment down dry to 0.990. It may not. I have a feeling this batch will, which means we'll be at 13.13% alcohol by volume, which is not bad at all. That's actually pretty good. And because the kiwi is not a highly sugared fruit, I kind of think that that's right. That's what we're going to see. I'm seeing some tannin that is just being really stubborn, and it's bugging me a little bit. You keep it up, and I'm going to start using tea on you. Okay, I got it. All right, so we have our batch together. The only thing we need to do now is to add our yeast. We have plenty of room to move around in this batch, but I am going to move our bag over just a little bit. Is that kiwi? Yeah, that's kiwi. I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone because you know I'm a Premier Classic girl. I just use it for so long and it's never done me wrong. So it's been my go-to. So our yeast, oh, it smells so good. Oh my God. And the smell of the yeast is kind of bringing out the smell of the kiwi. So this batch is smelling pretty amazing right now. And it seems to like the kiwi because it's hydrating really fast. It's already starting to move around. I think this is going to be a very successful batch. Look at that. They are doing their little dives and dancing around already. That's pretty cool. Make sure the top is nice and clean. Oh yeah, they seem to like this batch a lot. Look at that. They're doing a whole synchronized swim down in here. Okay, so we're going to add our lid. It's got a little marking on it, but it's actually clean. We're going to add our lid with a drilled hole and a grommet. It might have been from a pen. And now I just found, there we go. There's our airlock. Oh, I'm leaving out our test amount. We want all of it in there. Oh yeah, the yeast likes that. Likes it a lot. It's completely dispersed through the whole batch. Usually it sits at the top and it gets hydrated for a while. It takes a while before it starts to move around. But it's already kind of like dancing all the way through. There's nothing that's still dry sitting at the top, and that's pretty cool. So we're going to fill our airlock with Star Sand to the maximum fill line. Today's date, this is the middle of March. So this March, April, May, June, I would say July, we could kind of taste it and see what's going on with it. I don't know why my Star Sand's so foamy right now. I diluted it properly. It's ultra foamy. Wow. Okay. So we're going to put our airlock on. There's plenty of space there. One of the things is you want to make sure that your airlock tip is not touching the top of your batch, because then it would just clog up and it would automatically fill with liquid. You want to keep it maybe, I would say at least an inch and a half, 2 inches if you could, away from the liquid, because as this begins to ferment, it's going to rise. It's going to warm up for one, because the yeast are going to get active and they're going to start eating. So they're going to generate some heat. And as the CO2 starts to build, it's going to actually make the level of the batch rise up. So you just want to have some headspace available. All right, that's it. This is our Kiwi wine that I've been waiting for weeks to make. All we have in here is kiwi, almost 3 pounds of kiwi. We have the juice of half of a lemon. We have the zest of 1 lemon. And that's basically it in our usual players. So this is going to be a very simple wine, but I'm thinking it's going to be a very delicious wine too. So I want to thank you again for joining me at Handcrafted Wines. Remember again to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, tell your friends, make your own wine. If you're already making wine, please leave me a comment and let me know how it's going. I love making wine with friends. And have a wonderful day, guys. Bye-bye.